Hi guys, welcome back. I'm gonna use a new video program to kind of let us have a little bit more fun with our math this week. Look, you can see we're back in a very familiar environment. I got to go back into the classroom this week to get some of my stuff, so figure we'd hang out here for a little while. I'm trying to do something every week to kind of keep the videos fun because I know it gets a little boring just watching the same stuff over and over again. So I will do something every section to make something kind of silly. So whether it be a costume or a background or something like that, I will do something to make it entertaining so that you have to turn in every week to see what I'm going to do in the videos. So what we're going to do this week is we're going to do 7.7. Um, I'm going to do example 1 in this video and example 2 in another video. I split them up just so that the videos don't get too long, so you can break them up, use them whenever you need to. You don't have to sit through a whole 15, 20-minute video if you only need help with example 1 or if you only need help with example 2. So I'm going to break them down into smaller pieces. It's also easier to upload and easier for my computer to deal with. So if you have any questions, send me emails. I'm at my computer all the time. Um, so let's get started. We're going to look at 7.7 and we're going to start with example 1. So let me go ahead and get my screen over here. All right. So there we go. I got my pen. What we're going to do is we're going to be factoring, and this is our difference of square stuff. We did this before school got closed. We've done this. So what we're going to need to do is what we did in class is we did this just like we've done everything else. We did our X factor, our X frame, and then we factored by grouping. So we'll do the first one that way, and then on the second one, I'm going to show you the way the textbook does it, just so you have both options available to you. So what I'm going to do is we're going to look at this first one the way we did it in class, which was our X frame. So let me grab a yellow. So we did our X, and then we've got to find our A, B, and C terms. Well, I've got with an X squared is always where our A comes from. So with no X's, that's always our C. Where are our B's? We have no B's. So another word for no B's is 0. So our B term is going to be 0. So if you want to do it this X frame way, that's totally fine. We're going to do it this way and have our A times C, which is that invisible 1, just like we've been doing the last 6 weeks now. We've been doing this factoring stuff. So we have our A times C, which is our 1 times this, and be super careful, that negative 25, which gives us a top number of negative 25. So what we're going to do now is we need to find our two numbers that are going to multiply to be negative 25 and add to be 0. So when we have adding to zeros, when we have these perfect squares, what this is going to be is every single time going to be the square root. It's been a hot minute since we talked about square roots. But so what we're going to look at is what number perfectly squared is 25. So it's going to be 5 and 5. But we need one of these guys to be negative in order to make this be a negative 25. And for them to add up to be 0, we need them to entirely cancel out. So we're going to make one of these guys negative. That's all we need to do. And now it's exactly like what we've been doing for the last however many weeks to factor this. So when we go back over to our main equation, back to this guy over here, we're going to have our x squared. That doesn't change. What changes is this b term that's not here. We now have two things for that b term. So we're going to bring them in, that minus 5x and the plus 5x. And then from that original equation, we still have that minus 25. And now we're back, I'm going to cross that out. Now we're back to exactly what we were doing before. Nothing is different. Trying to get this stuff out of the way. Better. All right. Nothing is different from what we've been doing. We're still going to break this up into pairs, just like we've been doing, with a plus in between, always a plus in between. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pull out the greatest common factor of each pair. So the greatest common factor of this pair right here is going to be x. And what's left over, if I take x out of x squared, I'm left with just 1x. If I take 1x out of 5x, I'm left with that minus 5. So now we're going to take a look at this pair over here. What is the greatest common factor between a positive 5 and a negative 25? Bring on our plus, and that's going to be a 5. So if I take 5 out of 5x, I'm left with just x. If I take 5 out of negative 25, I'm left with minus 5. All right, and so that's really what we're going to do. And then we're going to wind up with our factored form, which is these two guys hang out together in their own little house, x plus 5, and then this guy comes and hangs out too, x minus 5. So what the book does is the book has you kind of memorize this pattern. And what it has you recognize is that this x is really this x under here. So it's that x right there. And then that the 5, this 5 and this 5 is really, if we took and wrote this as 5 squared instead, is really this 5. It's because 25 is the same thing as 5 squared. So what they have you do is they have you break it down into its squared components first, and then just kind of memorize the pattern. Where if we were doing this in school and you'd have to memorize it to use it on the test, I wouldn't want you to, because it's really easy to mess up something if we have to memorize it and remember it for so many weeks and do it on the test from memorization. That's more of a test of memory than a test of mathematical skills. So I don't like it when it's something that we just have to memorize and know. So, well, but now that we're doing this online, now that we don't necessarily have a chapter test, we can do this as more open notes homework. So we can write that pattern down. So we're going to do it on the next slide, and I'll do it with x's and y's, and then I'll do it with what's on the example 1b, so that we can see what I'm talking about here. So let's go to the next page. So this is what I'm talking about. It's a little cray, but we can totally still do this. So I think I did it with x and y's in the next video because I'm recording things out of order. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and break these down and have every single piece be squared. So if I want to write 4 as a product of something being squared, I want to see what is the square root of 4. And that's going to be 2. So I can write 4 as 2 squared, right? Z is already squared. He's hanging out here. And then how about 1? I want to put, there we go. I want to put 1 as a product of something being squared. Well, 1 times 1 is 1, so 1 is squared. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to take this pattern that they've had, that we saw in the last one, where we had our a squared, and this is how they have it in the textbook, because they have a squared plus, let's do a parentheses in blue. Sorry, color changes. Here. Plus b squared. And they give it to you in this kind of pattern. And what they have you do is you're going to write your parentheses. One of them is going to be a plus, one of them is going to be a minus. Doesn't matter which order they're in. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take whatever is being squared. So the 2 is not a part of it. The square is not a part of it. It's whatever is being squared. So this a is going to be in the front on both of these. And then we'll put this whatever's being squared second in there. So we've already gotten that process started up here. All we need to do now is put this into our parentheses. So we're going to build our parentheses. 1 is going to be a plus and 1 is going to be a minus. It doesn't matter what order they're in. And then you're going to take whatever is being squared. So both of those pieces, the 2 and the z, the 2 and the z, both of those are going to be there. And then we're going to grab what is being squared over here, this 1. This being squared over here, 1. And that's your solution. This is our factored form. Everybody needs purple. So this is our factored form right here. I recommend when you're working on the homework, write this down on like an index card or a piece of paper, scrap of something, dry erase board, whatever you got. Write that down or take a picture of it or have it with you. Utilize the tools at your disposal. Use the tools you have. That is something you can do. We wouldn't necessarily be able to have that written on a test in front of us if we were in the building. So if we want to write this down now, use it on the homework, that's fine. You don't have to have it memorized. Okay? So that pattern will make things simpler. I just don't like to have you guys memorize things. I'd rather sometimes have you go the long way if it's something we can do reliably. All right? So that is the end of example 1. Example 2 is coming in another video. I just don't want the videos to get super crazy long. All right? Yeah.